And the presidential elections have come and gone, with President Buhari re-elected for another 4-year term. Welcome to the show. This is What Next, Mr. President. What will happen in the next tenure, in the next 4 years? Now, according to his campaign manifesto, he says we are moving to the next level. But between now and May 29th, a lot of Nigerians are asking, what happens next? What about appointments? What about all the things that will be happening in this country between now and then? And that's what we're discussing right here. We have as our guest, Mr. Ni Akinsuju. He is the Director, Buhari Media Organization. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. The first question I'm going to ask is this. Just shortly after his re-election, he was meeting with members of the FEC and he made a statement. He said his second tenure will be tougher. A lot of Nigerians have continued to ask, what did he mean by that?
He was speaking specifically to his fight against corruption.
I see.
And that the momentum, would be higher. And that's what we expect in all aspects of his government going forward. Don't forget that during the election, we insisted that we are not reinventing the wheel. We are only going to intensify what we are doing, is to give momentum, to the programs of government has been implemented. And of course, because the government realized it's actually building foundations in all aspects of our national lives, especially in terms of economy, security, and the fight against corruption. So the president was specifically talking, to issues of the fight against corruption when he made that statement. And don't also forget that I think about 4 or 5 days thereafter, while meeting another set of people, he also said that yes, while meeting the Labour Congress, that his next tenure will be more prosperous. With the overwhelming majority the ruling party has in the National Assembly, a number of laws, anti-corruption laws that have remained stagnant in the National Assembly since 2016 thereabouts, would be passed into law, and that will also effectively give teeth, to the fight against corruption. The Money Laundering bill, for instance, is expected to be passed into law with our overwhelming majority. The whistleblower bill too, which has also stagnated in the National Assembly since 2017 precisely, would also be passed. With these laws, you expect a more vigorous fight, against corruption, as it were.
Let's take you back a little to the elections. The president won in 19 states, and his main challenger, Atiku Abubakar, won in 17 states, and the FCT, which is where we are right now. Why do you think, of course, that his opponent ran mostly on the basis of revamping the economy and making it more prosperous, if I should use the word, and that seemed to have resonated with so many people in this country. Over 3 million people believed in that and voted for him. Why do you think that his campaign, his message on making Nigeria work again, resonated so much with an interesting majority of Nigerians? Of course, not enough to win, but why do you think his economic policies attracted such traction that it got people to the votes, including people here in the FCT?
Well, you cannot classify, or how do I put it now? You cannot start taking out why people voted in the first instance, because it comes in a cup of activities, in a cup of promises. So it could have been so many other things, But what I'm trying to say essentially is, majority of Nigerians actually believed in the economic programs and policies of the current Nigerian government, and that's why they voted overwhelmingly. You had close to 4 million people voting over his closest contender, Alhaji Atiku. So what that tells you is that his policies, his economic policies, are more attractive, to the Nigerian people.
Of course, he won the election. I'm just asking. I'm just asking for a lot of people who were clamoring.
No, because when you use the word a lot of people,
yes,
it will sound
it is an interesting number.
what are the indicators we are looking at? When you're talking economy, you look at indicators.
I'll give you a typical example. First of all,
I can come with your you can come with a general pivotal indicator for
yes,
every economy.
Because for a typical Nigerian, I mean, the price of fuel going from 18 naira thereabout to about 140. That's the biggest indicator there is for many Nigerians. Price of fuel is what is like an indicator for an average Nigerian.
The economy article. The economic policies it was canvassing was actually talking to increasing the price of fuel. So it's not about reducing.
Which economic policy would have increased fuel?
If he was going to sell NNPC.
Do you believe that was going to increase the price of fuel?
It was going to, because are we producing fuel in Nigeria? We are not producing as of now. Even if we are producing, we are not producing enough to satisfy national demand. We are importing. We are not only importing one way or the other, we are underpricing. So, and most economic experts, that especially of the Bretton Woods extractions, will tell you that whatever we are paying off under the underpricing, which some people will call subsidy, we are supposed to remove. And when you remove, the price of fuel will skyrocket. But it is also the first time in the history of this country in the last 20 years that we have sustained the price of fuel, especially PMS, at a certain predictive range.
What are you saying, that you would have actually gone more than 145?
It would have ordinarily gone, if you had removed whatever the government was doing, to provide cushion, it would have been more than 240.
You do know the case of subsidy is really subject to debate because various groups believe different things about removing the subsidy, even though we don't want to base our conversation on that.
No, we can, but the truth is that subsidy, you subsidize principally the transportation of your white product from wherever you are bringing it in. If we are producing in Nigeria enough for our national demand, we may have no need for subsidy, but we have to buy from the Netherlands, even from Cote d'Ivoire, from Amsterdam and all that, and we have to transport back into Nigeria. And when you do that, you are adding cost, to a liter of PMS, as it were. That is actually what you are subsidizing. And again, if the price of crude also increases, the cost of the input, which becomes your feedstock, wherever you are getting it, is also increasing. So the cost, the pump price, will be different from the cost of landing. Like
I said, that is quite a debate for a lot of people who would say that a select few are benefiting from that subsidizing.
So that's why we are
subsidy. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Let us move on to appointments. One of the things that this president has been, criticized for is what some people call lopsided appointments, especially when you look at the service chiefs, a lot of heads of different agencies and parastatals. A lot of people have said he didn't look entirely or obey federal character, if I should bring that in. In the next 4 years, what will what will form the criteria for his appointments? Would he look at federal character? Would he, of course, competence? Let's be honest, you can find competent people across Nigeria. A lot of people can bring that in. But will federal character matter, or what will be the criteria for his appointments going forward?
Well, I think one only needs to be objective about these things and also find balance,
Paint a picture for us.
You have 36 members of the cabinet, ministers. They are representative of each state as defined by the Nigerian Constitution. If you are talking if you are talking religion, Christian and Muslim, you have more Christians in the cabinet than Muslims. Some people will say, in the defense team.
Exactly. Some people have brought that up.
So have you now also compared it with the economic team? Until 2018 July or thereabouts, when the economic team meets, you won't find a single northerner in that team. So when the defense team meets, you still find a southwesterner, you still find a south southerner. The naval chief is a south southerner. The chief of defense staff is a southwesterner. So when the core of that team meets, and what's the core? The Chief of Defense Staff, the Army Staff, the Naval Staff, the Air Force Staff. Those are the core. When they meet, there's a balance. The Naval Staff is South-South. The Defense Staff is Southwest. Army Staff is Northeast. Air Force Staff is Northeast too. So there's a balance.
Would you say
that? Of course,
would you say that? Some people have clamored and said, why are there no representations from the Southeast? Why are there no, yes?
No, now what I'm saying is simple. If you say Southeast, Southeast is one zone in the South. Northeast, Northwest, North Central. Those are 3 zones. Just as you have Southeast, Southwest, and
we have 6 geopolitical zones. Yes, and of course you've got 2 Southeast, Northeasterners.
You have 2 Southerners.
You have 2 Southerners, so that should cover for the Southeast.
And you have 2 Northerners.
From the Northeast, 2 from the Northeast, that should cover.
But you have 2 Northerners, and you have 2 Southerners. So that's a balance.
Well, some people
now, some people may some people may now extrapolate and extend it to the DSS. The police and all.
I wanted to go there. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask that question as well.
I have not provided the balance. That yes, you can have this seeming lopsidedness in the defense, just as we also have in the economic team, where you have Southerners mainly.
So why can't he have a perfect mix in all of his teams? Why does he need to have a certain group of people in one team and a certain? Of course, we are not taking out a capacity here and competence. But a lot of people will say all across Nigeria, you will find competent people. Are you saying there are no competent persons from this?
What you now need to do is to bring all these elements on the table and then do head counts.
All right,
as I told you.
Like I said,
so when you do your head counts, you still find the balance.
Like I said, going forward. Going forward, for some of these people who have clamored and said in his previous administration he did not represent these regions, going forward, will we see a representation of some of these regions in his cabinet and in these appointments?
What I know is that he has promised inclusiveness.
Which means he's agreeing that he wasn't so inclusive in his previous administration.
The inclusiveness will still be about capacity. And I think that is what has been driving the president. And I just told you, in the cabinet you have more Christians than Muslims. He's a Muslim.
I wasn't talking about religion anyways.
I
didn't want to go to religion.
It's still part of the lopsidedness. And you've not told me now why you have more Southerners in the economic team than Northerners.
If we have to talk about religion, then we can also talk about female inclusion. Because that's another aspect. Some women will say we're not getting enough.
For some of us, yes, the inclusiveness he is talking about actually has to do with women and youth.
I see.
Yeah, that's the inclusiveness he's talking about.
In the next administration, you see more women and youth in his appointments.
He has at different public fora made this clear that going forward is going to include more women, and more youths in his cabinet.
In the definition of youth, meaning 18 to 35. And not like maybe some 50-year-old who's been looked at as youthful.
He had also said that he's not also going to abandon his own constituency. Yes, it's going to involve more youth, more women, but he will not also abandon his sector.
Nobody is asking. His constituency meaning older citizens.
Yeah, so it's going to
he's not meant to abandon them, but we would like to see more of the age of 18 to 35 or 40, which we know as youth, because we will probably see some people who say they are youthful at 55. Okay, so we will continue to have more conversations about what next, especially with Mr. President, as we are marching towards May 29th when his next tenure begins. A big thank you to you, Mr. Niyi Akintuju, for taking our time to talk to us. All right, you go to the comment section of this video and tell us what you think. What are your expectations? What next, Mr. President? My name is Gloria, or JMRD, right here on Roots TV Nigeria.